make you so special? Why did he bless you? Think about it. I woke up this morning. Got a smile when I say that shit. I woke up this morning.
Did you used to have sleeves on that shirt and then you flexed and then they broke?
Yeah, I did. That's
Fair
sad.
enough.
It happens to a lot of my clothing.
Really?
Yeah.
That's just absolutely heartbreaking.
No, it's a struggle. You probably don't know about it.
I don't at all. See, I clearly have sleeves on right now. And these aren't even like I can fit my fist in there, you know? Like I get some room for improvement is what I'm trying to say. So like honestly, I feel like I brought you on here to teach me how to improve upon that.
The weightlifting aspect?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a lot to teach about that.
We're with bodybuilding expert Acacia. Expert.
Yeah.
Look at you go.
Can't you tell?
Alright, just switch up the topic just because this is a concept that you've kind of introduced me to a lot like lately. And I think it's like extremely interesting. We've been talking about it a lot lately too. Mm-hmm. But like beauty is learned. Like it's culturally learned. And that just blows my mind. Like I don't know why, but I was living with like the preconceived notion. I mean, I learned this in a documentary and then I also like it was reaffirmed to you like by you. But beauty is learned and I don't know why, but I thought it was completely innate, like almost like instinct, like to favor that particular person over that other person because of certain characteristics they might have. Like I just thought that was all like genetically ingrained in me, but a lot of it's learned, which is crazy.
Yeah, because I feel like whenever you look in the past, you see how much like different cultures and different like generations change with like their perception of what's beautiful at that time or part of the world, and how could it be innate if it's like always changing, you know?
True.
So I feel like beauty is like a socially made idea. Like there's an ideal beautiful thing or whatever that,
like the physical exterior of beauty.
Yeah. Like, these characteristics are beautiful and these aren't. And I feel like it's different for, like, I feel like it is different, like, for different parts of the world and, like, different generations. It changes all the time.
I know, so, like, some cultures, they have, like, rings around their neck because they perceive women to, like, with long necks to be beautiful. So they'll, like, literally stretch out these girls' necks to, like, very far extents by putting rings around them. And, like, same thing with like putting like lips, like something with putting like rings in the lips or something to like make like massive almost gauges like in your bottom lip because they see that as beautiful.
Yeah, I heard about the rings, but I never heard about the gauges in the lip.
Which like it sounds crazy from somebody in our culture, but at the same time like we kind of put women through the same thing and like
yeah.
I mean you could say like for both genders, but like it's crazy to think like the extent will go to fulfill this beauty that's so elusive at the same time.
You know, I also think it's funny that typically with older couples, I feel like they don't like body piercings, you know, they don't like facial piercings, nose piercings, things like that, or like tattoos in a lot of cases. But it's funny because like ear piercings are acceptable, right? Like almost every female, I feel like at a young age gets their ears pierced. Many females, and
definitely majority, a considerable majority.
Yeah, and like that's socially acceptable because it's your ears but not your face for some reason. I don't know, it's just funny how your society accepts certain things and not others for different reasons.
And it's kind of an art too, because like how you define it is completely subjective and it's constantly changing on like what's trendy, what looks good now.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Because, I mean, if you watch a movie, like an old movie, even as new but still like old, from like the early 2000s, like the girls just, like, I mean, you could say everybody in the movie, but like specifically talking about like women's beauty, like and what is perceived as attractive, like you can tell like the hairstyles have changed, the clothing's changed, like that's so interesting. That really is.
And how fast it changes too. You know, I feel like trends change so fast.
Absolutely.
It's a weird phenomenon.
Like I heard like guys, they'll switch up the like beauty trends, or not beauty trends, but the fashion trends. That's a better word. And like what guys will wear and like what's cool, what's in. I don't remember how much it was, but it was like once or twice or 4 times max a year. And women, they've actually like somehow figured out how to manipulate it so that they change it every week. So it's once every, like they change it 52 times a year, like literally every week, so that you constantly have this insatiable desire to buy more, because you feel like you're always chasing something and you're never going to catch it, and they know that, and they like use that against like particular people. But what is it really? It's to meet that like quota, but like a quota that is so elusive to even define. Like it's constantly changing. So I feel like at some point, like I don't know, like they say like the most beautiful women in the world are like the most insecure. So like at the same time, it's really interesting to me, like why not take a step back and be like, hey, I'm content with how I look. Like I am beautiful. Like just be like happy with that. Be accepting of that, you know?
I am interested where you heard that.
Where?
Yeah.
The 52 weeks. The like the trends changing every 52 weeks. Is that you're referring to?
No, how most people who are attractive or whatever per se see themselves as like are self-conscious about themselves.
That I actually heard in a TED Talk recently that was given by a retired Victoria's Secret model or something.
Oh.
And she was saying how she had worked with all these Victoria's Secret models, and these Victoria's Secret models were like, she's like, you wouldn't believe it, like these like girls walking down the runway that everyone wants to be, like all these girls are tweeting about it, wanting to be that, but they're the most insecure people you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
That's wild to me, because they're always chasing something they're never gonna find.
Yeah. It's like it's never good enough. People just always want more. They just always want to, you know, it's like you don't know what you have until you've had it once and lost it. Or you know, it's crazy that people take certain things like that for granted in a lot of ways.
Things like what for granted? Just
like in another way, happiness, for example. Have you ever heard like the saying, to be genuinely happy you have to be down a few times, you know, to know what it feels like to be happy? I've heard that in a similar aspect to like be able, like kind of like like on the topic of like duality, like if to fully understand good you have to fully understand evil, which is I think I was explaining this to you like yesterday, but I feel like when I was younger, a lot of my childhood, this is gonna make me sound like I like grew up in a terrible home. I'm thankful for my childhood, but I was able to understand the concept of hate and what it's like to hate somebody and to be hated. And I feel like in a weird way, I now, like in a more logical, like mature state of mind, I'm able to understand, and maybe not necessarily define, but understand a little bit more what love is, because I understand what it's like to like hate somebody and be hated. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense in some ways. But, I don't know. What does it mean to love someone in that aspect? Like, if you know what it feels like to be hated and you learn to love from that, what is your version of love?
It's almost like the same concept as like whenever you're like with you see your parents growing up. Like, we've all had this similar experience. Like, your parents, you kind of are like observing them and like nitpicking, like, okay, mom does this, I like how mom does this in comparison to dad, or mom does this well, mom does this well, mom does this well, but she is so stubborn, I will never be like that, I'll never be like that. It's kind of the same logic applied to that. So like on the aspect of hate, on the topic of hate, okay, so this is what hate feels like, and this is what you do when you hate somebody. You go out of your way to like make them feel worse. Like, you actually like want them to suffer. Like, you'll you'll go out of your way to like cause pain for somebody. So like on the opposite end of the spectrum, how I like would perceive love is, oh, you just do the opposite. And not that I'm arguing that hate and love are like polar opposites or anything, but I got off track there. But I would just do the opposite of what I would do while hating somebody. I feel like, I'm not saying that's how like I always think when I like really genuinely care about somebody, but I feel like understanding what it feels like on the shitty end has somehow given me a better understanding of what it feels like on the good end, and like to actually care about somebody.
That makes a lot of sense. So kind of like going out of your way to like make things worse for people would be like hate, as you said, but going out of your way to like improve someone's day or lifestyle or just help them in some way is kind of like love, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, I see that.
Especially on like that topic, like going out of your way to cause pleasure for somebody or happiness versus going out of your way to like solve hate. And you also like whenever you like hate, you just realize like how energy depleting it is upon yourself. And like that's the irony about the thing about like love. Like whenever you're like doing loving acts, it feels good, and it's the exact opposite of energy depleting. Like you feel like refreshed, you feel full, you're like, yeah, let's go. Like, and it's like literally the exact opposite. But when you're hating somebody else and your thoughts are like constantly dominated by like, what can I do to fuck them over, what can I do to do this, what can I do, like, or like what can I do to like defend what they might do to me, like you're anticipating them constantly. It's so fucking energy depleting. Like you are just mentally just drained.
Yeah, it doesn't help you at all, really, because I've like, you know, I don't think anyone likes to admit it, but I think in some circumstances in your life people have done that, you know, kind of go out of their way to make someone upset or make someone, you know, feel lesser, maybe like revenge. And it really doesn't do any good for you. Like, what good is that doing? Causing someone else pain? Why? Like, I just don't see how that's fulfilling.
True.
And I heard this really awesome quote. Actually, Ruby Rose put it on her Instagram story, and it was, the best kind of revenge is simply no revenge. Move on, be happy. It's so simple, but it's so true. Just like move on and be happy. Like be your own self instead of being involved in other people's problems or trying to worsen their lives, or, you know.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Because you're like giving energy to that problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is just all negativity. It's just negative spiral for everybody.
Yeah.
It really is. It's like it's a lose-lose, which love is like it's a win-win.
Yeah, exactly.
They are very opposite. There's like some polarity there.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
And it's weird because you could argue, you know, love and hate aren't exactly opposites of each other. I remember you said that before. And it's funny because maybe that's not exactly what hate is, or that's not exactly what love is, but it's like the best way to explain it. And it's crazy because I feel like humans have to categorize some emotions, and they categorize it into either love or hate or like indifference. Well, what about like the gray areas in between? If you can't explain it, like you don't label it.
True.
You know, it's interesting.
It is hard to say. Like would you say, just off the top of your head, like would you say that love and hate are opposites, or?
I can't really say, like, you know, if I saw the Google definitions and I was like, what's the Google definition for love and what's the Google definition for hate, then I could technically explain that. But like me personally, can't fully wrap my head around what true hate is. I can't fully wrap my head around what true love is, you know, like it's just such a difficult concept to me.
That's a good point, because regardless of how much hate you felt towards anybody, how much love you felt towards anybody, you're still limited.
Yeah,
like you're only limited to your own experience.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good point. I can consider that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question either.
Yeah.
I think it makes a lot of sense to say that they're opposites, and I think it makes a lot of sense to say they're not at the same time. I've heard two of the best answers I've heard on that. One being, I asked my old roommate, I'm like, what do you think the opposite of hate is? And he said, I think it's not caring at all. Or opposite of love, I apologize. He said it's not caring.
That's so true. I see that. And I understand that now because the idea occurred to me that I feel like when people are hating or they're putting hate on someone else, I'll put air quotes around it. They care, yeah. It's because they're either hurt about something that person did, they're hurt about something in their life, they're putting in energy to change this person's perception,
Get revenge.
Yeah,
get even.
revenge. Yeah. So indifference is literally just no energy being put out at all, like love or hate. So I could see what he means. Like,
I guess on that same topic, you could argue that not caring is the opposite of hate too, though.
That is also true.
It's like they got a weird love triangle.
I know, no. That's a really good way to explain it. That's so true.
That is bizarre. I've never thought about that.
But in reality, like, who comes up with these labels anyways, and everyone follows them daily, but who's to say that, I don't know, everyone has the same ideas or opinions about things,
or everybody feels that same emotion in the same way,
exactly,
or to the same extreme,
exactly.
Because I mean, we all know people that get angry, and then we know people that get really fucking angry. I feel like there's no way that either they're dealing with it differently, or they're just somebody's really really feeling it a lot more than somebody else.
Yeah.
Wow, that is interesting. The other good argument I heard from the opposite of hate, or the opposite of love, is that my buddy Colin argued that episode number 40, you gotta memorize, there we go. He argued that hate is its own entity, not opposite of love, but it's its own entity because it is a lack of love. So he argued that since we're feeling what love isn't, we respond by hating. I found that to be a very interesting argument.
I feel like there's a lot of different reasons for hate too, the ones we're coming up with at the top of our head is obviously revenge, or hating on someone because of jealousy, or whatever those reasons may be. But I feel like there's other forms of hate too,
True. So you said revenge, jealousy. Jealousy is just love and hate at the same time. Drake.
That's true.
I was listening to music one day and I was like, holy shit, that's true. That's some deep shit.
Yeah, that is.
It really is. I don't know if I've ever felt the emotion of jealousy. I really don't. Maybe when I was younger, but in the past probably 5 years, I really cannot remember. But then then again, it might be disguised as another emotion,
Yeah, that's true. I've heard that jealousy is one of the worst emotions you can have, but that's interesting to me, because if it's something that you can't control, then what can you do? What can you do? Yeah, I don't know. Can you control jealousy? You can act on it, but you can't really control that feeling of jealousy, I feel like.
True. You could if you feel that emotion, you could control it by thinking through logically what the deeper problem there is, and you might find that you are unable to accept yourself, and maybe somebody else has a quality in them that you wish you had but they don't. So then you could realize that that's completely within yourself, that's the reason you're jealous. Then you could always control that and change that. But
yeah, but it's kind of hard to change that for some people.
True.
Changing your perception on things screw society's standards on beauty or whatever, even, I kind of lost my train of thought too, but...
You were kind of saying, if people were, closed off to changing their own perception.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's really hard to like vocalize what I'm trying to say, but some people have more control over the way they perceive themselves in the eyes of like the world or society. Some people just simply can't do that, you know?
Okay, yeah, because I feel like they're it's almost like they accept things as like full truths whenever they do accept them, and they're unwilling to change.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point. I mean, that's the hardest thing, is making somebody who's closed-minded, open-minded. I mean, not the hardest thing, but that's hard. That's difficult.
Yeah.
That's not a task I can handle. I'll humbly admit that. What do you think makes people open-minded in comparison to closed-minded people? Because I think you're very open-minded. I would definitely give you that like label.
Well, thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. I feel like just seeing the world like makes you more open-minded, because if you're gonna be in the same area your whole life, if you're not really gonna see a lot outside of your home or with the media maybe even, you're just gonna see what's there. You know, it's like you're kind of conditioned to believe that's the way it is, and no other way. I feel like that's what closed-minded is. You believe that is the way and there's no other way. But I feel like people who are open-minded kind of usually have experiences, or they go out and see other things, see other people. Because as much as I hate to admit it, I truly believe people are formed based on all the crap that's dumped on them from birth through society. Like, just all this stuff keeps getting dumped on people, and you just kind of grow up and sort it out and make do with what you're given. And
absolutely,
the only thing being dumped on you is, you know, a small encompassing area of things. I feel like you're going to be closed-minded. But if you're getting things dumped on you from this part of the world, from this aunt, she's super different, you know, people in your life, I feel like, change you a lot too. So I feel like that's,
and it comes down to the choices and like how you react to those people.
Yeah.
Like, if there's like a good point, like an aunt that you like, maybe you lived in this little tiny bubble, and then one day when you're 11 years old, you go over to your aunt's house, and you're like, "What's up, Aunt Susie?" And she's just like the coolest person to you. Like, you just think she's so awesome, and from that moment on, you're like, "I'm gonna be more like her." Like, just having that aunt, like you said, like that could just open you up to so many possibilities.
Yeah.
That's crazy to think about.
It is.
And also, like, the mental state you were in. Like, if you were like really negative and closed-minded that day, maybe you would have rejected her as like somebody you wanted to get to know better. Like, so many variables at play.
Yeah, and you never know if you passed up a life-changing opportunity.
True.
Yeah.
Like, who knows? All the DMs that you get, you know, all the DMs on Instagram or Twitter. Who knows? You could go call those Tinder dates up. No, I'm just kidding. Right?
No. I mean, you can use it to your advantage these days, right?
Free dinner up there.
Yeah, for real. Like,
juices.
Yeah.
You want me to pick you up? No, I'll drive myself.
Yeah, it's literally about self-promotion, mainly. Like, Tinder is like, it's so much self-promotion. It's like, oh, you know, my name's Sally, blah, blah, here's all my pictures and stuff, but right below is my Instagram, below that, here's my Tumblr, and I also have a blog spot you should check out, you know? It's like, it's just so funny what social media is growing into in that way.
It really is. That's not far from the truth at all. That's really funny. Yeah, that's it. Well, you're the one who told me, and this is so funny to me. It's so just wild and outlandish. But you said that people on Tinder, like they'll literally get Tinder, like you said girls on Tinder will actually get like Tinder to promote their Instagram, and like all that other stuff, like you said.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And no other reason. And they'll also go to like lengths to even match with them, but not respond to their messages. Because if you match with them, you're getting more of their attention than if they're just swiping.
Oh, so absolutely.
At the time, they don't look at your bio or whatever. At least that's what I hear from a lot of males. They just swipe through. But yeah.
But yeah, I can see that with guys. Like, I feel like guys, they're not even learning names, you know?
Yeah.
They're just like, I've never gotten on Tinder, so I don't know how it is, but like, I'm imagining like they're literally just looking at pictures. Just like, hot, not, like.
Yeah.
That is very funny, though. That is very funny to me.
I guess it's smart in some ways, but. Yeah.
Hey, she actually, she's gonna be here in like a few minutes, and the conversation hit a dead point. So if you wanna get ready to fly out of here and over to wherever,
Let's do it.
Cool. We're actually going to hang out with Nikki, who was on my last podcast, whatever episode that was.
Oh, I want to check that out.
Yeah, you'll like it. She's I'll promote it to you for the last few minutes. Yeah, she's somebody I've known my entire life, as you know, since 8th grade, and she's been a very good friend of mine. And it was the coolest spot I've done a podcast at, because we got the backdrop of downtown Kansas City in the background.
Oh, wow,
and then there's like a little like pond area. It's really cool scenery.
Oh, wow.
She like, I'm like, hey, we should do a podcast while I'm in town. Like, I would love to do one with you. And she's been living in Arizona, so I don't get to see her that often. And she's like, yeah, absolutely, let's do it. And she's like, I know a good place, and we end up going there.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It was cool.
Alright, I'm excited then.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we went almost 30 minutes, so perfect. Cool. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Acacia, for coming on and hanging out with me.
Always love it.
Oh, yeah. Cool. Well, bye.